cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. My name is Sunny. I am your host. I'm here with my co-host, Giant Skyhawk.
Toby fly high. Da, da, da. That's for all the Haikyuu fans out there. That's a hawk and fly high joke. Sunny's not going to get
it. Somebody's going to get that. I don't, but somebody will. So here's my question to you, Skyhawk, is what did you say on the last episode during the intro? I know you did it alone, but I don't remember the intro. Did you say, "Hi, everyone, this is Giant Skyhawk. I'm your host, and I'm here with, well, nobody"?
Close to. So I was like, "I'm Giant Skyhawk."
Fair enough.
And that's it. That was the bit.
Well, what I will say is that I am excited to be back for now. I will miss the next 2 to 3 episodes, but we'll see.
Get your sunny time in while you can.
Yeah. Get all your sunny enjoyment in and all your sunny shots in while you can, because I am leaving. Let's see, we're recording on Wednesday. I am leaving on Saturday. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, basically Saturday. I'm leaving Saturday night to drive to the airport and catch a very early Sunday morning plane out of New Orleans to go to Miami. And then from Miami, I'm going to be on a cruise all week out of the country. So no sunny for a week.
Say hi to Jimmy Butler for me.
In Miami?
Yeah.
If I see Jimmy Butler and recognize that it is Jimmy Butler, I will say hi for you. Promise.
Sounds good.
In the meantime, until I see Jimmy Butler, I will go ahead and thank all of our wonderful sponsors. So a huge thank you, of course, to Steelfox Games as well as ETB Games for their continued support of the podcast. And, of course, a huge thank you to Gem Accessories. And be sure to check out our Dragon Shield affiliate link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support us. And, of course, we do have a TCG Player affiliate link. But, again, if you're going to shop from them, then go ahead. But if you're, they are very actively trying to bust their union up. So, just understand, which I guess not every business is perfect, but,
Speaking of,
they're not always cool.
There is one union that's doing very cool things right now. Shout outs to UPS union. That would be the Teamsters.
Yeah.
Doing good work. But
yeah, we will see what happens there, because as far as I can tell, we are almost guaranteed going on strike come August 1st. So
if
you're
want some
listening
more,
to this and you have anything that you need ordered, but make sure you get it delivered before August 1st.
And importantly, if you're interested in Sonny's thoughts, if you're a $5 and up patron, our last Patreon episode actually kind of went into it a bit. So if you sign up for the tier, you can get some solidarity ranting. But
absolutely. The other way to show your support is when you go to your next Edison tournament, play Machina gadgets. That way you can play both Earth, but that way you can play both machines that are Union, and you can play Solidarity. So you
Sounds
can be
like
an
the way
Earth
to go.
machine, or you can be a Union machine, baby. And like I said, you can show Solidarity. So
Nice.
With all of that said, of course, we do want to thank our patrons, and like Skyhawk said, $5 and up patrons will always have that extra little bit of content. But with that said, let's go ahead and get on into today's content. So we did just have the
big
words.
ones, the North American Nationals.
Right. So we had the North American World Championship qualifier, because we don't actually have nationals.
Yeah,
but
we get like the one big one, I guess.
Right. Which, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So this event was a lot of fun. I was obviously at the event. I obviously went to the event, and I am really, really happy that I did. I think that it was a lot of fun. I think that I would definitely do it again. It was my first nationals that I've ever been to. Some things not as cool. Some things cooler than I expected. So,
do we want to
we'll
get into the do we want to get into the event review, or do we want to start off with results?
No, we can do results first because I feel like that's like the thing that people are going to care about the most.
I disagree. I think people would love to hear your breakdown on the ins and outs of the event. But if you insist, I have the top 64 results here. But
yeah, not only do you have the top 64 results, you have like the full breakdown of everything. So,
I noticed that nobody had. So there's kind of some funny backstory here. Actually, the only reason I did this, I never do this. Two reasons I did this. One of my local guys, Blake Morrison, who we should have on the podcast next week. Stay tuned.
Sick.
Had ended up getting top 64 and actually ended up 6th place.
That's crazy.
After the playoff. Yeah, it's absolutely wild. He's been working his butt off for ages, so I'm super happy for him. But so I checked that, and the Necrofusion Discord was wondering what results were because we heard that there might be, and Nash was wondering too because we heard there might be a Gishki deck that topped. So I decided,
which indeed, as it turns out, what it did.
It did. Yep. But we'll get into that. And so I was like, well, I'm here already. I might as well do it, and then I did. So North America top 64. So we had 21 Kashtira. We had. So 10 Sprite, really it's 11 Sprite, but we'll get into like the two kind of weird builds. So there of the 10, we'll say 11. Of the 11 Sprite builds, we had 4 for Higher Runic, 3 Live Twin Runic, 1 just Runic Sprite, 1 Adventure Melfi, 1 Gishki, and 1 Striker. Some stuff to note in there. Obviously the Gishki list is bonkers. There's some pretty funny stuff happening in that list. And the Striker list is a lot closer to, I don't know if y'all would remember the Joshua Schmidt Power Spell Sprite kind of stuff. Really, it was just the Power Spell Sprite list, but it was playing a heavier Striker engine. So it was playing the new Striker Link 2, Engage, Widow Anchor, Afterburners, Jamming Waves. Like it was playing all the kind of like the breaker stuff. So it was more of like... It was more using the Striker spells as a way to like generate advantage.
Right.
So then we had a 7 branded Despia, 6 Pearly builds, 1 of which was Pearly Sprite, 4 Dragon Link, which is funny because over the weekend I think Konami decided they wanted to call it like Bestial Dragons, but everybody was like, no, it's Dragon Link, and Konami went, okay, fine, it's Dragon Link, you got us.
Yeah.
4 Rickosun Avalon, 3 Manadium, 1 of which was a super heavy Samurai Manadium list. I believe this might have been Patrick Hoban. If it was, I don't know if Patrick himself topped, but it's like that list.
He did.
It was Patrick? Okay, because I believe Patrick
he did
Hoban,
top.
I think he was the one playing the super heavy build. 2 Labyrinth, 2 Gold Pride, 1 Punk, and 1 Pure. The Punk list lost out in top 64, and the Pure list made it to top 32. 2 Vanquish Soul. So Sonny and I were slightly wrong. There was going to be actually 2 Vanquish Soul and not just 1. One Tier Limit. And the tier list is kind of nasty, actually. There's some wild stuff happening in those lists now. And the kind of the big story is the 1 Hero list that won the top 64 feature against for Higher Runic. So I don't know, Sonny, you were there. Do you have any thoughts about the results? Is that kind of emblematic of what you played against?
No, but these guys were at tables 1 through 32. I was at table 1232, so that's the difference between me and these guys. These individuals are actually good at the game. I am not, so that's the difference. But so I'll kind of go down the list. I know you just went down the list and kind of broke it all down yourself. I will go also back through it and kind of give my thoughts.
Yep.
So 21 Kashtira does not shock me at all. About a third of the field is kind of what we've consistently seen from Kashtira. My only thing here is that it's shocking to me how dominant Kashtira is considering how bad the deck is.
Yeah, well, and it was all 4 of top 4, and it was 6 of the top 8.
Right.
So it's not like it was like, it's not like it really fell off at all while going.
No,
through
it
top
didn't.
64.
Not only, I mean, if anything, it's gotten more dominant. But the crazy part is like I said, the deck's just so good, right? The deck is just so. The deck's not good, right? The deck's bad. It's bricky, and it loses to itself. But if it doesn't lose to itself, it probably just wins. So, as it turns out, being able to both play D-Shifter and just make a D-Shifter whenever you want is kind of crazy.
Well, I think that was the top 8 match was over in 5 minutes because the cash player opened Shifter against Dragon Link twice, and that was the end of the game. Like,
yeah.
It's a deck that I think while it is bricky, I don't know if I would call it bricky. I would say it has consistency problems. It feels a lot like the Thunder Dragon deck did, where it was like sometimes you open like completely unplayable, but most of the time you can do something, and that something is really good.
Right.
So it even reminds me of a lot of like old Dragon Link builds where like the super like combo heavy stuff where it was like 95% of the time you're opening a hand that does something, but you will have games where you just literally can't do anything.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy.
Something else that's wild too is like the cash players can abuse almost everything in the game that sucks right now. Like a Rise Heart and Shifter are already super detrimental to a lot of decks. The cash players are all siding Eradicator now. Like they can just make an Xyz and then just go, okay, boom.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
So I just personally, cash is just, yes, Eradicator is a problem, but cash was dominating before they were just siding Eradicator. So
we gotta get rid of this deck.
This deck's gotta go.
I suspect it will be. I hope that what happens is that a Rise Heart gets banned. On the
I think a Rise
list.
Heart should be banned and Fenrir should be limited.
I could see that. I may be a little biased. I kind of like Fenrir. I think it's a cool card, and I think something that makes going second worth doing that also outs like Floodgates and stuff. I think is really good. However, it's probably above the curve. I think a limit, if Pankratops is at 1, we probably have to limit Fenrir.
Exactly, right? Because Fenrir has a lot of the same pros that Pankratops has, but Pankratops doesn't search another Pankratops.
Yeah, and Fenrir is also a combo piece. I don't know if you saw Eva Lee's posted an Infernoble combo that is Fenrir plus like a guy.
Yeah.
It's like the fact that you can go Fenrir add Rise Heart is, I think it's like Rite of Aramasir and Fenrir is like the full Infernoble combo with a whole bunch of disruptions.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
It's like
my issue with Fenrir, one of my biggest issues is that you can just do it on turn 0.
Yeah. Like it's a combo extender and a disruption and a board breaker, and that seems like a lot.
Yes.
That seems like a lot of things for one card to do.
The 10 sprite doesn't surprise me, especially seeing how many different sprite variants are here. The Gishki is surprising, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's just sprite, right? I mean, it's just sprite. One Adventure Melfi is interesting to me. I think Adventure in this deck is not something we've seen, but I'm happy to see it. I think it makes sense if you really think about it. Runic, sure. But just Sprite Runic is kind of weird. But 4 for higher Runic and 3 Live Twin Runic, I think makes a lot of sense. I think the for higher version of the deck is just better, right? Because it does the same things that the Live Twin version does, but it just does them better. It keeps you ahead in advantage by drawing. It just draws 3 more cards a turn than you do. And it also has ways of removal. So the extra, to me, you're playing the Live Twin engine to stay up in advantage by 1 or 2 cards, whereas you play the For Hire engine and you stay up like 5 cards. I just think that the For Hire engine is so ridiculously good.
Yeah.
So
I will say, just as a side note, I think Runic probably is going to get hit pretty harshly on the next list, partially because of these results. the advantage generation stuff is really crazy. I will say, before it goes, I think it is very cool that a deck like Fur Hire gets to be like arguably the second or third best deck in the format. Like,
I agree. I just wish that I want Volcanics to be one of the top decks in the format before Runic gets hit.
I'm with you. The one thing about Sprite that I do want to talk about, obviously the Striker Sprite thing is funny. I think I heard some people wondering why Melfi had kind of fallen off, because Melfi Sprite was like the build in the EU for quite a while. Part of the reason is that there are more board breakers in the format now. A lot more people are playing Dark Ruler, and the Runic builds are a lot more resilient to something like Dark Ruler because you have all the Runic spells, and you can even like the Fur Hire deck also can set a copy of the Mayhem or the Rookie, so that they can have either the Rafal or the Wiz at the sideboard post Dark Ruler. The Melfi deck doesn't really have a lot of good answers to the Dark Ruler. You really only have one Disruption post, or you can go for the double cross play or Smashers. But there's less reason to play that version of the deck when the other versions play around something like Dark Ruler or Triple Attack a lot better.
So 7 branded Despia is disappointing for sure, but it's here.
I love that.
I hate this deck so much. I really want this deck to go die. I really, really hate this deck and the constant support.
Yeah, so
really
it is
upsetting.
It's really interesting that you mentioned that, actually, because that is a thing that I want to mention. So if we look at like the vast majority of Top Cut, right? Like Kashtira, Sprite, Runic, Despia, even like below Pearly, we've got Dragon Link. Like, we're talking like 31, that's 38. There's like a 40, so it's like almost like 60, almost 2/3 of the Top Cut are decks that we've just like kind of had forever, right? And this is this is maybe a weird observation. It's looking a lot like the end of TOS format era, where we got all those people like, okay, hey, you should go play Pearly, or you should go play Monadium. I heard Gold Pride's pretty cool. What about Vanquish Soul? It
So
feels
what
as the
I'll say
same
is,
as like, really? You're still playing Salad? Come on.
I'll say that I think the difference between TOS and this, we've had people say that about formats feeling like TOS format several times over the last couple of years.
That's
At
true.
the end of that Drytron Virtual World Tri Brigade format, people were like, this is starting to feel like TOS. We said it on the podcast. We said this is literally
guilty
just
of it,
TOS
yeah.
2.0,
Yeah.
right? Turns out we were wrong, but because I wouldn't call that TOS 2. But at the same time, I think that this is a little bit different, because I think this is just kind of the recipe now for things are going to feel stale by Nats every year. Because essentially Nationals is their chance to show off all of the decks that came out this year and how they're all still kind of competitive. And then right after Nats ends, you're just going to see a whole new wave of decks. Because Kashtira did not exist at Nats last year. Sprite did not exist at Nats last year. Pearly did not exist at Nats last year. Rika did. Dragon Link, you can say existed, but like not in this iteration. It was a completely different deck. 90% of the dragons in this deck are like Bristeels now. They just weren't a thing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Manadeum did not exist. Labyrinth did not exist. Or did it technically exist? I don't think it did. Gold Pride did not exist. Vanquish Soul did not exist. Tier Limit did not exist. Again, this is Sky Striker, but it's also Sprite. It's just got like 3 Striker cards in it. It did not exist. Heroes existed.
Well, Striker, yeah,
it's a one-off.
Striker made finals actually last year, but you know.
Last year at Nationals?
Yeah, because it wasn't the World Champions. It was Ryan Yu got second.
I did not think that was the case, but even if it is, again, this was just a Sprite deck. I really want this to be known. This deck literally played like one extra deck striker and then like 3 or 4 main deck, and that's it.
Yeah, it is a Sprite deck.
It was just an engage engine.
Yep.
So, but this he is here, and even then you could say branded Despia is more of a this year thing, because while yes, it did win majors last year, they've released so many new cards for the deck and so many new cards for the strategy that it's no longer just Guardian Chimera control. It's its own deck now. It's a completely different thing. So I don't know. When the strategy of the deck changes completely, to me, that's not even the same deck, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at this and you see 90% of this list is all new stuff, I feel like I don't think they'll hit it all into the ground like they did at the end of Toss format, because I think they want to show off the things that have come out. But I think that they're just going to power creep it into oblivion. Like, as soon as Dune comes out, we already know there's like 1 or 2 playable archetypes and tons of Manadium support that just makes Manadium good, right? So
yeah, Pearly also gets a lot better post Dune.
Right.
So that causes some shifts as well.
Right, exactly.
I think probably Cash and Sprite will catch some pretty steep hits. I think Sprite's, funny enough, I actually think Sprite is the biggest defender here just because of the amount of time it's stuck around.
Yes.
So a couple of other interesting, actually, I guess you were kind of going down the list. Results-wise, we were at Despia.
Branded Despia needs to die in a hole. Pearly is cool that it's still competitive. I am actually glad that they hit it because I really don't care about this deck that much. And the one Sprite version, I believe, is just an aberration. I don't think it's really that much of a thing, but I think 6 Pearly is cool. I'm happy for them. 4 Dragon Link, again, disappointing, but is what it is. Shout outs to Mike Thomas, aka Trish TV. Congrats to him on getting top 64 with Dragon Link. I think maybe even top 32. He topped with Dragon Link. I know, happy for him.
Massive Trish W.
4 Rika, which just goes to show you, the more that people play this deck, the more people will realize it's a meta contender. It's just that you need a PhD to play the deck. Good deck, though. Manadium is a garbage deck that happened to top, and the only reason that it is not a much higher representation is that even though it's not that great right now, it's got wheels, but it's really not that great. Manadium is going to be a ton better after Duelist Nexus. Yeah. All this is people just like testing the waters and seeing how the deck feels.
I'm surprised to see it outperform stuff like Lab or Gold Pride or Vanquish Soul, though. Like, I would have expected maybe 1 Manadium to sneak in, but 3 of them is definitely like, some people are working on it.
I don't really expect Manadium to have a lower representation than Gold Pride. I'm surprised Gold Pride here is it here at all. And Vanquish Soul, 2 of them doesn't shock me. I think 2 of them is like what I would have expected, 1 to 2. I never would have expected Vanquish Soul to put like 6 up there. But Manadium at 3 doesn't surprise me. It's such a high ceiling combo deck right now. I think like the deck right now is just kind of, if your hand is really good, they just combo, right? But the issue is that the deck is not consistent enough yet to compete. But after Dune, it will be. So I am really surprised, though, to see Labyrinth at 2. That shocks me. I really would have thought that Labyrinth would have been closer to like 7 or 8.
On
but the more people side deck for it, and the more people build their decks around beating that deck, obviously the worse it gets.
Like, especially going into like with tons of people like either main porting Ash or like even siding Ash for the matchup, or even being like, actually Bell is looking kind of nice. Like, I mained
both Ash and Bell.
Yep.
By the way, those last 3 cards that we should have put in my side deck because we couldn't figure out what it was Droll. I forgot to play Droll.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And I never should have played Droplet. Don't play Droplet. Droplet's bad right now.
Ryan Yu's Labyrinth list, if you want to go look at one, is really interesting. He's actually like mainboarding the Floodgate version, but siding into a small package. One thing that Ryan Yu is doing differently than a lot of other lab pilots are doing is that he actually mained 3 Daruma Cannon. A lot of them are only playing 1, but Ryan Yu is pretty insistent that Daruma's the best card in the deck. It's like I believe his exact words were that it's the best normal trap in the game, and then he was playing 2 Terrors of the Overroot. He was like, because this is the second best one. Definitely an interesting deck profile if you want to watch that if you're interested in lab theory. He even, I think he mentioned something about why rep fur is lower, but anyway.
So 2 Labyrinth is surprising. 2 Gold Pride is surprising for the opposite reason. I'm surprised it's in here at all, but I'm happy for him. 2 Vanquish Soul. I figured 1 in top 32, so 2 in top 64 tracks. Fine. 1 Tier is surprising to me. I'm surprised Tier can top at all right now in such a heavy D-Shifter / Arise Heart format, but that's fine. one Sky Striker Sprite, which again, this is just Sprite with a small Striker engine, so it's fine. And the one hero is shocking to everyone, including the guy that topped. But he's been a hero, Chad, grinding that deck for like 5 or 10 years, apparently.
It's 10 years.
And
Mount Fuji.
yeah, 10 years he's been grinding heroes, always played it. And, I mean, rocked out in top 32. I think he got all the way to top 16. So, happy for him.
No, he lost in top 32.
Okay, anyway, he got to top 32.
Still,
So
top 32 at Nats on Hero is ridiculous. Like I
don't think it matters if you get to top 32 or not. Like as long as you get to top 32 after that, I don't think it matters because they give out prize cards to all of top 32.
Yep. Some interesting stuff that I want to talk about for some decks that appeared outside of Top Cut. There are two things that I want to mention as decks that I think, or three things actually, that I've been thinking about over the last little bit. So one of them is that there's one deck that I think is absent on here that I was expecting to see some representation for. No Fluanderies hit top 64. I'm actually really surprised about that. I thought Flu would have been a really interesting pick for, I mean, maybe not necessarily an interesting deck, but I feel like Flu actually had a lot of good matchups going into this. It's a deck that doesn't care about Shifter very much. But
yeah, the only issue is that Flu is bad.
Yeah, there were some at top tables. I mean, yeah, that's fair. The statue's a thing. I don't think the deck is bad. Like Hanko Chow won a regional on it like a couple weeks back. It's clearly playable. I was just kind of floored to see none of them clear.
Yeah.
The other two things, there were some decks on the bubble that I think are really interesting. One of them is on Hakuna My Data's channel, and there was a feature match. It's like 5-axis Cyber Dragon. The deck is playing like Electromagnetic Turtle as a foolish to like stay alive for a turn if you can't OTK. It's using
right.
It's using duality to flex into Rampage Dragon. There's a ton of weird tech in the list. Go to Hakuna My Data's channel and watch it. It's super bizarre, but it's really, really fascinating. They're playing a small Cyberdark package to search Power Bond. It's fascinating. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about is, this is going to sound silly. I think Springans is showing up as a rogue contender.
That does sound silly. You're right.
But so hear me out. Both EU nationals and NA nationals had a Springans player like lose out in round 12. In the EU, they were on feature match, and in NA they were on written feature. People have figured something out with this deck. So, especially, I think in a Worlds format, I wouldn't be surprised if some people think about it. But anyway,
right.
That's those are the things I wanted to talk about, like outside of top 64 format wise.
Yeah, I think that this format is really diverse, which is really good, but it's also really scary because it makes it really difficult to side deck and game plan against a lot of these different decks. And also, we were talking about how bricky earlier Cash King B. I think some of the solution of that might be to cut down on traps to avoid Eradicator and just play that hand trap build that the EU guy was playing.
You mean
for
spells?
The second place? The second place Euros guy.
Oh,
he's playing a hand trap build.
Or the hand trap
of
cash. Yeah, you mean play less spell cards.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm tired. It is late.
You're good.
So do you want to go ahead and get on into kind of my experience there at the event and over the weekend? So I want to go ahead and get on into kind of my experience at Nationals because I did have a spectacular time while I was there. Obviously, I was there from Friday until like Tuesday morning, basically Monday night, because I stayed up all night Monday to catch my early flight. But I do kind of want to talk about it. I posted a huge thread to Twitter, and most of the things that I'm going to talk about here, I actually talk about on the thread. I'm kind of going through that as I go through and kind of like telling things anecdotally as I go through. But, and Skyhawk, feel free to like cut me off here anytime I say something that you want to like touch on or expound on. Mm-hmm. So, you got
it.
Yeah. So, I want to say, first off, Raleigh was awesome. I was really shocked at how much I enjoyed like the actual city of Raleigh. We ate at some great restaurants. We didn't really need to use Uber all that much. We were able to mostly walk everywhere we wanted to go. Obviously, I would have preferred like if it was at London where there was public transport everywhere we wanted to go. That was my favorite part about London, was that the tube was just awesome, which is funny because Londoners like complain about it, but I thought it was amazing. So
Yeah. Nice. I'm glad it was good. The public transport
giant
was
sip of
nice,
water.
but big gulp.
Yeah. So I think that Raleigh overall was wonderful. The city was so clean. It was amazing. There were I don't really think there was any time that I really felt particularly unsafe. I think that there were moments where I was like, okay, like we should walk a little bit faster, get through this. But overall, I really felt very good about the location. Our hotel was basically directly across the street. It was easily walking distance. We had a bunch of restaurants that were walking distance. We had, so Friday night we there was like a chicken and waffles place called Beasley's that was like really good. It was ridiculously good, actually. We had a random dude like walk up to us right as we sat down to eat and offered us like $100 for our table because we had to wait like 45 minutes for a table. And he walked up and he was just like, "Hey, like, how bad you want to eat right now? I'll give you $100 for your table." And we were like, no, I appreciate it, but like, it's just not enough. He was like, "What about 200?" I was like, "No, that doesn't split evenly into 3 people, so I think we're gonna have to pass." So, but I don't know. It was really good. I really enjoyed Beasley's. They had a really particularly interesting syrup, and it was really good. I don't know what kind of syrup it was. I had a Canadian with me that insisted it was some kind of blend between like regular syrup and maple syrup. It wasn't wholly any kind of particular syrup. It was some kind of a blend. I don't know, but it was really good. Then that was Friday night. Saturday night we ate at an Italian restaurant, and then went out to like a dessert bar where like all the drinks are made after desserts. I don't know, it was good. But the Italian place was really good. I'd like this like spicy tomato sauce with calamari over linguine. Woo! It was good. Then Sunday night we went to a sports bar. Sunday night we did a sports bar. So that was cool. It was chill. It's just a couple of people, not anything crazy. Just went there, chill, ate dinner, and then afterwards we went out. But in that moment, it was a very, very nice, chill, like getaway from the chaos of the evening. And we walked to all those places, so it was nice to be able to walk places and be in a clean, safe feeling downtown. So that was very nice. And the hotels that were there were very good and not outrageously overpriced. Because there are some places where the hotels are just like, it's just not worth it,
Yeah, makes sense.
So I do think I liked London better, but the Raleigh was good. The other thing about Raleigh, wow, that is the first convention center I've ever been to where they're like, it doesn't matter how many people you put in this room, it will be cold.
I saw this and I was like, that's actually a massive bonus. That's actually really huge.
Yeah. So Saturday afternoon, it's like 90 degrees, 95 degrees outside, plus it's humid. So I mean, it felt like it was like really hot outside, even with a slight breeze. In the venue, it was probably 68. I mean, I would walk into the venue and be like, I need a hoodie. I need a jacket. And I was so happy because for those that know, they know There's nothing worse than going to a venue where it's this massive convention center. You've got 3,000 players. You've got an extra 1,000 people doing side events and extra stuff. Plus you have the vendors. You have the staff. There's easily 4,000 people. Easily. 4,000 people in this convention center. And all too often they're like, okay, electricity is expensive. We're going to set our massive, giant, oversized ACs that can cover this room. We're going to set it at 73. And it's like, you don't understand. When you get that many people in that room, if they start getting warm at all, then it's going to compound, and then your AC can't keep up anymore. And now your convention center is like 85 degrees, and everybody's sweating, and now it stinks. No, not here. Absolutely not. I went in, and I was cold all weekend unless I was really, like, outside, like hoofing it back and forth to restaurants and stuff. I was chilly basically the entire weekend, and it was wonderful. I didn't bring a hoodie because I forgot one in the backseat of my car. It was just the best, though. I could not have been happier to have been in there. It didn't get overheated. It was really, really welcome. The one hiccup that we had was round 2. They did paper pairings round 2 at a 3,000 person event, which kind of sucked, but it's fine. I'm not worried about it. They got back to it after round 2. From then on, as far as I'm aware, it was all back onto online pairings. Nice. They just had something that went wrong with the system that round. So
I remember when people were posting about that, and I was like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
For a 3,000 person event, but it's super good that they were able to get it like back up and running again. That's really awesome.
Yeah. My only issue with traveling actually had nothing to do with Konami. Why did so many people connect through Charlotte? Why did so many people have to go to Charlotte and then Raleigh? Or when they left, go Raleigh to Charlotte? I was in the Charlotte airport both ways. Why? Why are we connecting through Charlotte? That's a 30-minute flight. You're saying
really
there was no way I could get a direct flight at a slightly different time and just go directly to Raleigh? You're telling me that there's really no way that I could go to like a major hub
I remember
and
when
go connect at a normal place? Why do they even offer a 30-minute flight?
I think if I had gone, I actually probably would also have had to go through Charlotte. Like I don't know
insane.
what it is. Yeah, it's really weird.
I really do not believe that a 30-minute flight to Charlotte, from Charlotte to Raleigh and back and forth every day, makes sense. I don't understand how it's profitable.
There has to be some weird, like, routing thing. Like, maybe it's like an airspace issue. I'm curious to know, actually. That's interesting.
It is, because it doesn't make any sense. And not only that, I mean, in the EU, you can't even fly a plane within the same country for connecting flights in the same country. Why are we doing it within the same state in what is not even that big of a state? That's crazy. I mean, I would have thought that we'd go New Orleans to Atlanta to Raleigh, or even like New Orleans to, Tampa and Raleigh or whatever. No, New Orleans to Charlotte to have a 40-minute layover and then a 20-minute flight over to, like, we got up into the air and they were like, hey, we know normally we do a drink service on every flight, but this flight is literally too short. The flight attendant doesn't have time to go all the way down the aisle and do drinks. It's not long enough for that. So there won't be a drink service on this flight. Hope you understand. That's crazy. Yeah. I can understand like a small regional deal where it's like 4 hours distance and like you're in a 2x2 jet and you're just going up and it's like an hour flight. I kind of get that because I can fly from my hometown to a major hub like Dallas and from Dallas go where I need to go. That makes sense. But why Raleigh to Charlotte? That feels like you should either fly out of Charlotte and connect through a real airport to somewhere else, or fly out of Raleigh and connect through a real airport to somewhere else, or have a direct flight from the real airport to one of those places. I I don't know. That really bothered me. And the amount of carbon emissions that's being put in the air for a 30-minute flight just is infuriating.
Yep.
So I will say the staff did a really wonderful job. I had a couple of rulings questions that I asked the staff, which reminds me I need to send emails to Konami about certain rulings and also certain other things that happened at the event. But that's not relevant to here, but I'm glad I said something because I reminded myself.
Nice.
But overall, the staff did a wonderful job. Both the TCG staff and the side deck staff, as usual, did spectacularly. I had no issues with the judge staff. I had no issues with event staff. Really, they did as always. They did a wonderful job of answering all of my questions effectively, efficiently, and as far as I'm aware, correctly. So
Nice.
I didn't have any issues with the vendors. They were all buying at pretty decent prices, and they were all really nice to me, and they were all willing to work a deal. But I've also never really had vendor issues before. I've had a couple of them that are buying at like 35, 40%, but usually they're pretty empty. So they really know what to do to fix that issue, is to give better rates, and they're always full. So the side events went pretty smoothly. Day one, the last chance qualifiers, they fired over 100 last chance qualifiers day one.
That's crazy. That's insane.
Yes.
But just on the Friday?
Just on Friday, they fired
100
like
flights of that is crazy. Those are all 16 players each too, yeah?
They were
Was it
actually running out of judges, and they were making some of them 32.
Oh my god.
That's what I heard. I didn't play any of them, but I had heard that some of them were 32 apparently.
That's wild. But also cool that people
Yeah.
are grinding for it.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's an event that had 4 years of invites and almost 3,000 players, and they ran
these
like
people
almost
still-
100 last chance qualifiers.
That's wild. I love that.
Yeah. I think the side events Friday, besides those, were all either not firing yet, or I think they only fired like 15 or 18, maybe 20 Edison events on Friday. But
Yeah, I mean,
the counterpoint to that,
the big Edison event.
well, the counterpoint to that is they were devoting so many judges and so much staff to the LCQs and stuff that they essentially just didn't have the manpower to support all of the Edison events and stuff that people wanted, as well as all the LCQs.
Yep. Makes
So-
sense.
But when Saturday came around, woo! You had people running the Ultimate Time Wizard event. You probably had 5 judges, 6 judges just for that. You had Edison pods firing. You had regionals firing. You had, every kind of tournament you can think of firing. Rivalry of Warlords, all that. Speed Duel. And with all of those tournaments firing, you really ended up with a lot of, I think, Time Wizard for the weekend. Not Ultimate, just regular Time Wizard went like over 120, 130 total flights fired of just Edison.
Mhm.
And even GOAT format had like 20 something, 30 something that fired. The one that kills me though is the guy that got second place in the Edison Ultimate Time Wizard event. I don't know how true this is. This is just what he told me. He said he flew in from South Korea to play
the Edison event.
to play the Ultimate Time Wizard. He signed up as soon as he heard about it.
That's
flew
cool.
in from South Korea. He lives there, and he was American. He was just living in South Korea for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Flew all the way in just for this. Got second place. Sold the Black Rose at the event, and pocketed and went home.
This honestly, that's the Giga Chad move right there. Fly like thousands and thousands of miles to get second at the first ever big Edison event, and then be like,
Yeah.
I'm selling the prizing and going home. I mean, I guess, like, what are you gonna ask them to ship it to South Korea? Like,
Yeah, first off, shipping would have been insane. Second
Would've been
off,
brutal.
it's not it's just the oversized. It's not the giant card. Who wants the oversized when you can have when there's a giant running around?
Right. I mean, I would be okay with oversized, but
Trust me, I tried to get a giant ecclesia, and the asking price was like $2,500, and I wanted to cry.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If you're the guy that has a giant ecclesia and wants to move it for way less money than it's probably worth, let me know. I can't afford it because I'm broke, but I would love to know.
Pack bent his on stream. You can ask for his.
I actually will message him and say, bro, you don't need to be doing this. I will literally trade this from you. I actually, you know what? I'm going to message him right now and tell him that.
That's not a good... Okay. Anyway, something funny about the Edison event, actually. Amaryllis Burn got top 4 at that event. So now...
I'm getting war flashbacks.
Phoenixian Cluster Amaryllis has been bought out to the moon. It's like $100 now, isn't it?
It's outrageous. It makes me sad.
Much, but it's a lot of money. Well, it makes Sunny sad for rather specific reasons. Yeah. That's kind of the breakdown. Anything else?
I got blasted I got blasted by that deck before it was good.
Before it was good.
Yeah. That deck's crazy, by the way.
I will say I'm definitely gonna make a huge effort to make it to nationals next year. It didn't work out timing wise for me, but I'm beginning planning now so that I can make sure I'm there next year. So keep an eye out for Giant Skyhawk top 64.
That would be so sick.
Anything else you want to say about the event?
Yes, actually. I absolutely do. I just got distracted by Pack bending that card, and now I've got to go find the Twitter thread that I was going through again. Well, no, I didn't send the image. I said, bro, you can't do this to my girl, and then proceeded to not send the image, and now I've left the thread, and I haven't found that image, and now I just... There's very little context going on for really, anything anywhere. Anyway, but I think part of the reason that these side events were firing so not consistently, and they were having so many issues with it. Like, there were issues with judges running too many side events at once and then losing track of what side events were going to time when and stuff like that. But I think a lot of that is because volume was, I think, a lot higher than anybody expected. Volume, I mean, when you're running a 3,000 person main event, you have to have probably 150 to 200 just judges, floor judges for that event. Not to mention judge staff. Plus, you also need somewhere in the neighborhood of, I would think personally, 100 judges just for side events. So, or maybe 50 at least. So, it's a lot. But the Ultimate Time Wizard event was crazy. Having a full second event running with a full Swiss in day 2 was a great idea. I'm a little bit frustrated at the way it played out. So, I don't know if you heard about this, but they capped it at 256 or something like that, right? And they capped it there for signups for pre-reg. It filled up in 3 days, and they closed it. And a lot of people didn't register because they wanted to play, but they heard that if you sign up for that, you get DQ'd from the main event. Okay, fine. Whatever, it happened, it's over with. Then we get there, and Saturday we find out that they went to almost 300 people. They let a bunch of extra people in for no particular reason that anybody can come up with. And then after they did this, a lot of people ended up playing in both events. They pre-reg and signed up and did the main event, and then collected the prizing for the main event, and then went and did the Edison event anyway, which is the thing that everybody wanted to do, but they literally just couldn't do it. So I don't know. It's pretty upsetting, because if I'd have known that, I would have signed up for the main event, got the pre-reg stuff, and then gone and gotten down and played in the side event, because I honestly would have preferred that. I would have been more competitive at that rather than go 0-3 drop at Nats, right? I would have rather play Edison. At least then I can win some games. But whatever. So that's really frustrating. But I think it's really sick that they did it, and I'm kind of anticipating them doing this at every event going forward. And of course, lastly, my favorite part of the weekend was, of course, seeing all of my awesome friends. I got to see a lot of people that I haven't seen in a long time. I got to meet a lot of really new people. I got to make a lot of great connections and see people that I just really loved. I loved having all the listeners that came up and talked to me at the event. I had people coming up and getting me to sign stuff, which was amazing. I got to meet people and see people that have always wanted to meet me, but I've never been to an event that was close to them, and now I am. So it was really, really, really a treat getting to really go out there and, see people. That's always my favorite part of the events, as many people. Every time when you're a small creator like this, every single time you're at an event and people just walk up and start like, hey, I watch the podcast, or I watch your YouTube videos or whatever. I love your content. Would you be interested in? Could you sign this for me? Oh, every time I just get happy. It just makes me happy. So, I'm a big fan. So
nice.
But the last thing I'm gonna say has nothing to do with Nats. After I say this, we can close it off. It's up to you. Do you have anything else you want to add before I close it off?
I don't think so. I'll try to be there next year, but I will be at YCS Vancouver for sure. I'm gonna try to end up at more events in general, just because I think it's if you haven't been to, I think if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player at all, you should at least try to get to one big event like a YCS or an NAWC
I think you absolutely should go to a Nats. Nats is by far the most packed event that they do.
Yeah.
I mean, they have voice actors from the anime that come in and do signings and do live duels, all kinds of stuff.
That was the last thing I wanted to say. Shout outs to Gong Strong's VA. I think Billy Bob Thompson is his name. He did it.
Yeah.
He absolutely killed it.
Yeah.
It was really
I heard
good.
one of them did a great job and the other one was almost a little bit cringe.
I think they were both good. I mean, Jack Atlas's voice is like Jack Atlas, but Gong Strong just absolutely brought his A game. It was good stuff.
That's awesome.
So that's it.
So I'll say that I personally, that wasn't my thing. I did get a token made with my face on it that I was very excited about. But for me personally, I think that I think that, like you said, if you have a premiere event within like 3 hours of you just have to go. You just have to go. It's crazy. Yep. Really 4 hours. 4 hours is kind of my limit for what I'll do in like a day trip. But even if I can like overnight it, I will be going to every premiere event within 4 hours of me. So Houston, Dallas, I'm guaranteed going. Or even really like San Antonio, Austin, I'm going to those too. If I can make a weekend trip out of it and drive it, I'm guaranteed going. If I have to fly, it's 50-50 at best. So, but
Solid.
With that said, let's go ahead and wrap things up. Before we go, I do want to say I am hosting my first ever case tournament. We'll be hosting the Top Cut Podcast case tournament for Duelist Nexus on August 5th at ETB Games in Alexandria, Louisiana. Of course, ETB Games has been sponsoring the podcast forever. And they are also letting me come in with my own case of product, and I will be hosting this tournament at the shop. I really do need a turnout to make this worth me doing, and if I can get that turnout and make it worth doing, I'll make a regular thing of it. My plan is to be doing these case tournaments for sure at every core set, and hopefully pass that into other sets as well. So the goal for sure is every core set, and if it's another set, kind of like Battles of Legend or something like that, which is actually like, something that it is a good set with like boxes and a real case count, like 12 boxes to a case. Mm-hmm. I won't do cases of Megatins or anything like that, because I think you have to do probably a 6 case tournament to make it worth it. But ideally, I will be doing a case tournament for every really like major set release that comes out. So be sure to, if you're in East Texas or Louisiana or South Arkansas or Mississippi, it's probably worth it to come. So I realize that that's a big area, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. If you do want to meet me, I'll obviously be there. I'm running the tournament, being the TO. I won't be playing, but I'll be TOing.
Depending on
can't really do both. Kind of a conflict of interest.
Yeah. Depending on circumstance, we might also have some commentary. Depends on setup and stuff, but
yes,
depending on what we were talking about before, I may be commentating a live stream of that as well. So if you can't make it in person or you're too far away, but you still want to support the event, definitely keep an eye out for a possible stream.
Yeah, for sure. Also, that is the same weekend as Worlds. So this first one probably won't be streamed because we'll probably just have Worlds going while we're there.
That's true.
But I am interested in doing that in the future. So in the future, maybe. We'll see.
Let's read some patron
with that
names.
said, yeah, of course, let's go ahead and thank all of our wonderful, wonderful patrons. So a huge thank you to Bring Red Reboot Back to 3, Kane Martin, Zyphorus, Big Stinky, Broken Boy 13, Ding Dongs, Hostess of the Yang Zing, Earth Machine, Best Deck. Has anyone actually read Toy Vendor, HGH Cyber? I used to play Rogue, but then my mom got a job. Is Canada, Nickelback, John Lil, Mountain Man, Oatmeal Spaghetti, Owen Alvarado, Seto Iba, Silver Hope. Sunny stole my phone and took pictures with a Moyi body pillow. That is absolutely something. So for context, because I was hanging out with my friends all weekend who are mostly content creators, it was a pretty frequent thing they don't know me. They just know the content creators, right? They don't know me. They know Crush Cards. They don't know me. They know GGYGO. They know Gary. They don't know me. And it's very funny because when this happens, I ended up making it kind of a thing where they'd be like, hey, can I get a picture? And the person's like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, it's okay. I got you. I'll take the picture. So I'll take their phone, go snap, take a picture, whoop, flip that camera around. Oh, get a good selfie. Whoop, take another one. Here you go.
Part of the reason I laughed so hard at this in the recording the last episode is because I knew the context, and I was like, we're gonna wait till Sonny gets back so he can explain this. Now you have the context.
It's still very funny. Understanding and reading are two different things. Upstart Goblin These Nuts, classic. Virtually Savior's World, Zach M, Aaron Gardner, Alexander Chan, Asami, Ashlish Chaps, Atsuyo Simp of the Silver Castle, Blackwing Silver in the Ascendant, It's the Best Flagate, Box Wine, Co-Link D's Nuts. Come on and get your game on. Duty Booty, Dragon Maidenless Behavior, I'm about to Rika Glamour, Trip You for Cross D's Plant Nuts in Your Mouth, Neshi, Old Man Red, Pin Code 143, Sakitama, Aratama, Nikitama, Cam, Obama, and Slaking It Up. Thank you all so much for your continued support of the podcast. Of course, if you want to get that extra episode, you can check that out in the description down below. With that said, thank you all so much and have a great weekend, and I'll see you in a week and a half, folks.
I will contact. See you later.
That's a bad one.
No, I think it's good. I had the actual card. Come on.